can't wait to see the shock on her face when I surprise her.
He can't suspect anything.
Can't wait to be with you.
Obiora and Wosu couldn't stop smiling as he carried his bride across the threshold of their honeymoon suite. After 3 years of dating and 6 months of wedding planning, Amara was finally, officially his wife. "Welcome to forever, Mrs. Nwosu," he said, setting her down gently on the plush carpet. Amara laughed, that beautiful laugh that had first captured his heart at a mutual friend's party 3 years ago. "I still can't believe we're married." The presidential suite at Eco Hotel was everything they dreamed of, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lagos at night. A king-size bed with rose petals scattered artfully across white silk sheets. Champagne chilling in an ice bucket. Soft music playing from hidden speakers. It was perfect. She was perfect. "Let me freshen up," Amara said, touching his cheek. "Give me 10 minutes to slip into something more comfortable." She winked and disappeared into the marble bathroom. Obiora loosened his bow tie and looked around the suite. 300 guests. His best friend Chinidu's toast that had everyone crying with laughter. His mother's tears of joy. Amara in that stunning white dress, looking at him like he was her whole world. He pulled out his phone and texted his cousin. "Married life already amazing. About to prank my wife, LOL. Hiding in closet to surprise her when she comes out faced with tears of joy." The idea made him grin. Amara loved his playful side. She'd probably scream, then laugh, then they'd... He glanced at the walk-in closet. Perfect hiding spot. Obiora slipped inside, leaving the door slightly ajar, so he could see out. He positioned himself behind some hanging robes, phone ready to capture her surprised face. This was going to be hilarious. He heard the shower running in the bathroom. Any minute now, she'd come out and... A knock on the suite door. Obiora frowned. Room service? But they hadn't ordered anything. "Who is it?" Amara's voice called from the bathroom. "Room service, ma'am." Complimentary champagne from the hotel. Obiora's confusion deepened. There was already champagne in the room. He'd seen it when they arrived. "Come in." Amara called. The door opened from his position in the closet. Obiora had a clear view of the entrance. His breath caught. It wasn't hotel staff. It was Chinidu, his best friend, his best man, still wearing his groomsman's suit from the wedding. Obiora almost stepped out. What was Chinidu doing here? Maybe bringing a wedding gift? But why lie about being room service? Then Chinidu did something that made Obiora's blood freeze. He locked the door behind him and smiled. Not a friendly smile. Something else. Something predatory. Obiora stood perfectly still in the closet, heart suddenly pounding. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The bathroom door opened. Amara emerged wearing a silk robe, her hair damp from the shower. And when she saw Chinidu, she didn't look surprised, didn't look confused. She ran to him and kissed him. Not a friendly kiss. A passionate, desperate kiss. Her hands in his hair. His hands on her waist. The kiss of people who'd done this 1,000 times before. Obiora's world tilted. His hand flew to his mouth, stopping the gas that wanted to escape. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be. They broke apart, breathing heavily. Finally, Amara whispered, "I thought that ceremony would never end. Do you know how hard it was to stand there and say, 'I do' to him when all I wanted was you?" Obiora felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. "You played the part perfectly," Chinidu said, stroking her face. The blushing bride. So in love. Even I almost believed it. Amara laughed. That same beautiful laugh, now transformed into something cruel. 3 years of pretending. 3 years of letting him touch me, kiss me, talk about our future. Do you know how many times I wanted to vomit? "It's almost over," Chinidu assured her. "Did you bring it?" Obiora watched in horror as Chinidu pulled a small vial from his jacket pocket. "Poison," Chinidu said, holding it up to the light. "Tasteless, odorless, works in 10 minutes. Heart attack symptoms. completely undetectable if the body's cremated quickly. Obiora's knees nearly gave out. His hand pressed harder against his mouth. This couldn't be happening. This was his wedding night. These were the two people he loved most in the world, and they were planning to murder him. Pour it in his champagne glass. Amara instructed, I'll make sure he drinks from the right one. When he collapses, I'll call emergency services. But by the time they arrive, she shrugged. Tragic. Healthy 32-year-old man. Heart attack on his wedding night. Stress, excitement, too much emotion. And his new widow inherits everything, Chinedu finished. 150 million Nigerian nairas in assets, investments, properties. All yours. All ours. Amar corrected, pulling him close again. We split it 50-50. Then in 6 months, after a respectable mourning period, you and I get married. Just like we always planned. Obiora thought he might actually be sick. The closet felt too small, the air too thin. His wife, had married him to murder him. His best friend, his brother in all but blood, had helped plan it. How long? How long had this been going on? Remember when we first planned this? Amara said, as if reading his thoughts. 2 years ago. We were broke, struggling, watching people like Obiora succeed while we had nothing. 2 years. They'd been having an affair for 2 years, before he'd even proposed. You came up with a perfect plan, Chinedu said. Get him to fall in love with you. Marry him. Kill him. Take his money. He was target number 3, actually. Amara admitted. The first 2 didn't work out. One was too smart, suspected something. The other one didn't have enough money to make it worthwhile. But Obiora? She laughed. Obiora was perfect. Successful, wealthy, and completely, stupidly in love with me. Obiora's vision blurred with tears. Every moment, every kiss, every I love you. All of it had been a lie. The wedding was beautiful, though. Amara continued. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered. Nigerian Naira 150 million. That helps the guilt significantly. Chinedu walked to the champagne bucket and pulled out the bottle. He examined the 2 crystal glasses on the silver tray. Which one's his? The one on the right. I'll make sure of it. Obiora watched through the crack in the closet door as his best friend poured poison into a champagne glass. The glass Obiora was supposed to drink from. The glass that would end his life. Chinedu held the vial up. Empty. It's done. Perfect. Amara checked her reflection in the mirror, adjusting her robe. Now leave through the back stairs. I'll give it 15 minutes. Then call you from a hospital. After he's dead. They kiss one more time. Long, deep, celebratory. By this time tomorrow, you'll be a very rich widow, Chinedu said. By this time tomorrow, we'll be free. No more pretending. No more acting. Just us and all that beautiful money. Chinedu left through the suite door, closing it quietly behind him. Amara stood alone in the room, looking at herself in the mirror. She smiled, cold and satisfied. Then she returned to the bathroom. Just need to perfect this lipstick. Don't want to look too eager to kill you, darling. Obiora stood frozen in the closet, mind racing. If he stepped out now, confronted her, what would happen? She'd deny everything. Say he misunderstood. That he was paranoid. Without proof, it was his word against theirs. If he didn't drink the champagne, they'd know he suspected something. They'd try again later. Different method. Different time. And he'd spend his life looking over his shoulder, never knowing when. But if he drank it, he'd die. Unless an idea formed. Desperate. Dangerous. Possibly insane. What if he pretended to drink it? Faked his death? Let them think their plan worked? And while they were celebrating, recorded everything. It was risky. The poison was real. Even a small amount could kill him. But if he could fake it convincingly enough, get them to confess on recording, it was the only way to prove conspiracy. The only way to catch them both. His hands shook as he pulled out his phone, started the voice recording app, slid it carefully into his robe pocket, where it wouldn't be seen, but would pick up audio. He took several deep breaths, trying to calm his racing heart. Then he stepped out of the closet. "Surprise!" he said, forcing a bright smile that felt like it might crack his face. Amara jumped, hand to her chest. "Obiora, you scared me. I was hiding to surprise you." The lie came easier than it should have. Thought it would be funny. Amara laughed. That fake, practice laugh, he now recognized for what it was. "You're so silly. Come here, my husband." She wrapped her arms around him. The same arms that had just been around Chinidu. The same lips that had just kissed another man while planning Obiora's murder. "Let's have some champagne," she said, leading him to the silver tray. "Toast to our future." Our future. She meant her future, without him in it. The hotel sent up this beautiful champagne. Amara said, reaching for the bottle. She poured carefully, one glass from the bottle, one from... Obiora noticed now that there was a second smaller bottle, mostly hidden. She was pouring his glass from that one, the poison one. She handed him the glass on the right, the one Chinidu had marked, the one that would kill him. "To forever," Amara said, raising her own glass. "To loving you for all my days." Obiora looked at her, really looked at her. How had he never seen it? The coldness behind her eyes? The calculation in her smile? "To forever," he echoed. They clinked glasses. Amara drank deeply from hers. Obiora raised his glass to his lips. His hand was shaking, but that could be explained by wetting nerves. He tilted the glass, let the champagne touch his lips. It tasted bitter, definitely poisoned. Using a trick he'd learned from a magician friend, he appeared to swallow while actually letting most of the liquid flow back into the glass. He did let a tiny amount touch his tongue, enough to seem real, not enough to kill him. He hoped. "Delicious," he said, setting the glass down quickly. "Isn't it?" Amara watched him intently. "How are you feeling?" "Nervous. Excited. Happy." All eyes. He felt terrified. They sat on the edge of the bed. Amara kept glancing at her watch, waiting. The poison was supposed to work in 10 minutes. At 8 minutes, Obiora started his performance. He put a hand to his chest. "I feel strange." Amara's eyes sharpened. "Strange how?" "Dizzy. My heart is..." He took a gasping breath. "Racing. Can't breathe." He fell to his knees, clutching his chest. Let his eyes roll back. Started convulsing. He'd seen it in enough medical dramas to fake it convincingly. "Obiora..." Amara's voice held fake concern. "Obiora, what's wrong?" He gave one last gasp, then went completely still. Held his breath, let his body go limp. Silence. 30 seconds. 45. A full minute. Then Amara stood up and kicked his body. Hard. "Finally," she said, her voice completely different now. Cold. Relieved. "You're dead." Obiora kept his eyes closed, his body still. The phone in his pocket was recording everything. 3 years of pretending to love you, Amara continued, standing over his corpse. "Do you know how exhausting that was? Your constant talking about the future, your boring investment stories, your pathetic attempts at romance. I deserve an Oscar." She kicked him again. "You're such an idiot. You actually believed I loved you. Believed Chinidu was your friend. You never suspected. Not once. Pathetic." She pulled out her phone. Dialed. "It's done," she said when Chinidu answered. She'd put on speaker. "He's dead. Poison worked perfectly." "You're sure?" Chinidu's voice. Amara nudged Obiora's body with her foot. "He's not breathing. He's gone. Thank God. I thought he might suspect something when he came out of that closet. He's too stupid to suspect anything. Was too stupid. Past tense now." Amara laughed. "I should call emergency services in about 20 minutes. Make it look like I tried to save him." "Don't forget to cry," Chinidu advised. "Please. I've been acting for 3 years. I can fake crying." They discussed details. How long to wait. What to tell police. How to act devastated. Every word recorded on the phone in Obiora's pocket. After 15 minutes, Amara ended the call. "Time to become a widow," she said to Obiora's still body. "And a very, very rich one." She was reaching for the hotel phone when there was a loud knock on the door. Hotel security. We receive a noise complaint from the neighboring room. Amara froze. Just a moment. She frantically looked around. The poisoned champagne glass. Obiora's body. Her phone still showing Chinitu's number. The knocking continued. "Ma'am, we need to check the room." I said just a moment. Amara hissed. She shoved the champagne glasses behind a vase. Tried to compose herself. When she opened the door, a woman in a hotel manager's uniform stood there, about 55, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense expression. "I'm Sister Blessing, the night manager. Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine." Sister Blessing's eyes went past Amara, to the floor, to Obiora's motionless body. "What happened?" She pushed past Amara, dropping to her knees beside Obiora. "He just collapsed. I was about to call for help." Amara's acting kicked in, tears, shaking hands, perfect panic. Sister Blessing checked Obiora's pulse. Found it, weak, but there. Saw his chest barely moving. Noticed his lips were slightly blue. "This man has been poisoned," she said flatly. "Call emergency services. Now." "Poisoned? That's impossible. We were just—" Sister Blessing was already on her hotel radio. "Medical emergency, presidential suite. Suspected poisoning. Get paramedics here immediately." She turned back to Obiora, started checking his vitals, tilting his head back to keep his airway open, and she whispered, so quietly that only Obiora could hear, "I see your eyes moving under the lids. I know you're alive. Play dead just a bit longer. I've got you." Obiora had never been more grateful for anything in his life. Paramedics arrived within 4 minutes. They immediately recognized poisoning symptoms. Pumped Obiora's stomach right there in the suite. Started in 4. Loaded him onto a stretcher. Sister Blessing quietly pocketed the champagne glasses, the ones Amara had tried to hide. Evidence. As they wheeled Obiora out, Sister Blessing also noticed a small vial in the bathroom trash. She took that too. In the ambulance, Obiora's eyes flickered open for just a moment. The paramedic saw. "Sir, can you hear me?" Obiora's hand moved to his pocket, to his phone, still recording. He managed to tap it off, securing the audio file. "Sir, who poisoned you?" But Obiora had already closed his eyes again. Playing dead was safer than the truth. For now, at the hospital, doctor confirmed it, military-grade poison. Another 10 minutes, and he would have been dead. They put him in ICU. Amara played the distraught wife perfectly, crying, begging doctors to save him. Oscar-worthy performance. What she didn't know was that Sister Blessing had already called the police, and that Obiora was conscious, aware, recording every fake tear. The game had just begun. He planned a prank. He hid in the closet to surprise his wife. But what he saw, his wife and best friend kissing. They'd been lovers for 2 years. They planned his murder for months. Poison in the champagne. He had to pretend to drink it and fake his death. She kicked his body and called him pathetic. She called Chinitu, "He's dead." But Sister Blessing saved his life. She's an ex-cop. She took the evidence. He recorded everything on his phone. But he swallowed some poison. He's barely alive. This is the most dangerous game. Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion because next chapter shows them in the hospital and their plan unraveling. Turn on notifications. Obiora woke in a hospital bed with tubes coming out of his arms and the steady beep of monitors surrounding him. He was alive. Barely, but alive. The first face he saw was Sister Blessing's. "Easy," she said softly, pressing a hand to his shoulder when he tried to sit up. "You're safe. You're in Lagos University Teaching Hospital. You've been here for 6 hours." Amara playing the devastated wife in the waiting room. Sister Blessing's expression hardened. Quite the actress. But I know what I saw, and I know what I took. She pulled out the champagne glasses, now sealed in plastic bags. The vial from the trash, also bagged. Evidence. I was a police officer for 20 years before I retired and started managing the hotel. I know poison when I see it. Obiora's hand went to his pocket. His phone was gone. I have it, Sister Blessing assured him. Password protected. No one's accessed it. Is there something on there I should know about? Everything, Obiora whispered. His throat was raw from having his stomach pumped. I recorded everything. The whole plan. Both of them. Sister Blessing's eyes widened. You recorded your own wife planning to murder you? And my best friend. The words tasted bitter. They had been having an affair for 2 years. Married me for money. Planned to kill me tonight. Inherit my assets, then marry each other. Dear God. Play the recording. Voice memo app. You'll hear everything. Sister Blessing found the file and listened. Her face grew darker with every second. When it finished, she looked at Obiora with a mixture of pity and respect. You played dead to gather evidence. It was the only way to prove conspiracy. Without proof, it's my word against theirs. You nearly died. I know. Obiora's hand trembled as he touched his throat. I thought I could fake it completely. Didn't realize I'd actually swallow some. But if I hadn't played along, they'd have gotten away with it. Sister Blessing was quiet for a long moment. Then, the police are here. Detective Okafor is outside. He'll want your statement. But there's something you should know first. What? Your wife is demanding to see you, to be alone with you. Obiora's blood ran cold. She wanted to finish the job. That's what I thought, too. Sister Blessing leaned closer, which is why I'm going to suggest something that might sound crazy. Let her see you, but pretend you're in a coma. Can't speak. Can't wake up. Let her think the poison mostly worked. Why? Because people confess things to comatose patients. They think there's no risk. She might say something incriminating. And this time, we'll be recording her. Obiora understood immediately. You want to catch her on camera. The audio recording is powerful, but video of her trying to finish what she started, or confessing while she thinks you can't hear, that's irrefutable. It was dangerous, insane, but Sister Blessing was right. Do it, Obiora said. But how do I fake a coma convincingly? Leave that to me. I'll brief the doctors. They'll tell her you're unresponsive. Brain activity, but no consciousness. Could wake up, might not. It'll drive her crazy with uncertainty. And if she tries to kill me again? Sister Blessing's smile was grim. I'll be watching, and so will the police. Hidden cameras in your room. Officer outside your door. You'll be protected. But if she tries anything, we catch her in the act. Obiora closed his eyes, trying to process everything. Less than 12 hours ago, he'd been getting married. Now he was planning to use himself as bait to catch his murderous wife. There's one more thing, Sister Blessing said. The doctors say you ingested enough poison to cause serious damage. If I hadn't gotten there when I did, if I hadn't recognized the symptoms immediately, you'd be dead. Minutes made the difference. How did you know to come to our room? Sister Blessing's expression softened. I didn't. I was making my rounds. But when I passed your suite, I heard a woman's voice saying, "Finally, you're dead." That's not normal wedding night conversation. So I knocked loudly and said there was a noise complaint. Honestly, I was hoping I was wrong, that I'd misheard. You saved my life. God put me in that hallway at the right moment. That's how I see it. A nurse came in to check Obiora's vitals. Sister Blessing stepped out and returned with Detective Okafor, a sharp-eyed man in his 40s. Mr. Nwosu, I'm sorry for what happened to you, but I need your statement. Obiora told him everything. The closet, the conversation, the kiss, the poison, the plan, the recording. The detective listened to the audio file, his expression growing darker. This is enough to arrest them both, he said. Conspiracy to commit murder. Attempted murder. We can bring them in now. But will it be enough to convict? Obiora asked. A good lawyer could argue the recording was taken without consent, could be thrown out, and without that recording, it's circumstantial, the detective admitted. The poisoned champagne is evidence. But without proof of who poisoned it, Amara could claim it was tampered with by hotel staff. Chinidu could say he wasn't even there. That's why we need to catch them trying again. Sister Blessing interjected. Let them think Obiora is incapacitated. See what they do next. Detective Okafor looked at Obiora. You understand what you're suggesting? You want to use yourself as bait? Let your wife visit you while you're supposedly in a coma. Yes. If she realizes you're faking, she could panic. Do something desperate. I know. And if we're not fast enough to stop her, I know, Obiora repeated. But if I don't do this, they'll find a way to wiggle out of charges. Hire expensive lawyers. Plant out. Maybe even go free. And then what? I spend my life looking over my shoulder? They find another victim? The detective sighed. All right, we'll do it your way. But we do it smart. Hidden cameras. Audio recording. Officer outside your door at all times. And the moment she tries anything, we intervene. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This could go very wrong. They set up the room like a trap. Cameras hidden in the ceiling vent, in the flowers on the bedside table, in the wall clock. Audio recording devices everywhere. An officer in plain clothes stationed just outside the door, able to burst in within seconds. Obiora practiced his coma with the help of a neurologist. Slow, shallow breathing. No rapid eye movement. No response to stimuli. Complete stillness. If she touches you, don't react, the doctor instructed. No matter what she does. 2 hours after the setup was complete, they let Amara visit. She came in slowly, checking to make sure no nurses were watching. She'd been crying. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes red, the perfect grieving bride. But the moment the door closed, her face changed. She walked to his bedside and stared down at him. The machines beeped steadily. Obiora's chest rose and fell in slow, controlled breaths. Are you really unconscious? She whispered. Or are you faking? She pinched his arm. Hard. Obiora didn't flinch. She lifted his eyelid. His eyes stared blankly, unfocused. Good, she said, satisfied. You're really out. She pulled out her phone. Called Chinidu. He's in a coma, she said without preamble. The poison didn't kill him outright, but his brain is damaged. Doctors say he might not wake up. That's not the plan. Chinidu's voice came through the speaker. He was supposed to be dead and cremated before anyone could test for poison. Well, someone called the paramedics too quickly. That nosy hotel manager, I think. What do we do now? Amara looked down at Obiora's still form. We wait. If he dies naturally in the next few days, we're fine. If he wakes up... She trailed off. If he wakes up, can he identify us? He was unconscious when you left. He shouldn't remember anything. But if he does... Amara's voice hardened. I'm his wife. I can make medical decisions for him. Life support, treatment options. I can refuse care if necessary. Let him die naturally. You do that, we're this close to 150 million Nigerian nairas. Yes, I do that. She ended the call and stood over Obiora for a long minute. Then she whispered, I hope you die. Just die already. You're costing me money keeping you alive. The longer this drags out, the more suspicious it looks. She pinched his arm again, harder, pathetic. Even in a coma, you're useless. Obiora kept his breathing steady, his face blank, but inside, rage burned like fire. After she left, Detective Okafor came in, followed by Sister Blessing. We got all of that, the detective said grimly. Conspiracy to commit murder. Discussion of letting you die by refusing medical care. It's all recorded. Is it enough? Obiora asked, dropping the coma act now that she was gone. It's better, but I want one more thing. I want to catch them in the act of trying to finish the job. You think they'll try again? I think your wife is desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. They were right. 3 days later, Amara visited late at night. She'd checked the nurse's schedule carefully. The overnight nurse took a break at 2 a.m. The officer outside the door would be doing a perimeter check at 2:15 a.m. She timed it perfectly. At 2:10 a.m., she entered Obiora's room alone. In her purse, she carried a syringe filled with air, an air embolism, injected into his foreline. would cause cardiac arrest. Untraceable if you didn't know to look for it. Obiora, through barely open eyelids, watched her approach. His heart pounded, but he kept his breathing steady. She pulled out the syringe, uncapped it, reached for his foreline. "Do you know how easy this is?" she whispered. "Just a little air. Your heart stops. Doctors call it a tragic complication. And I become very, very rich." Her hand was inches from the foreport. "Goodbye, Obiora. I'd say it was nice knowing you, but honestly, you bore me from day one." She pressed a syringe tip against the foreport. "Freeze! Police!" The lights blazed on. Detective Okafor and 3 officers burst through the door. Amara screamed, dropping the syringe. I was just injecting air into your husband's foreline." The detective held up the syringe, now bagged as evidence. "We've been watching you for 3 days, Mrs. Nwosu. You're under arrest for attempted murder." "No, you don't understand. Obiora's eyes opened fully. He sat up in bed. Amara's face went white. You're awake?" "I've been awake the whole time," Obiora said coldly. "Playing coma to catch you. And I did." You were faking? Just like you've been faking loving me. For 3 years." The police cuffed her. "Read her rights." She screamed, cried, begged, but it was too late. As they led her away, another team was simultaneously raiding Chinitu's apartment across town. They found him packing a bag, preparing to run. By sunrise, both Amara and Chinitu were in custody. And Obiora, for the first time in a week, could finally breathe. The interrogation rooms at Lagos Central Police Station were cold and sterile. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, metal tables, hard chairs, the smell of sweat and fear. In separate rooms, Amara and Chinitu sat with their lawyers, both scrambling to save themselves by destroying the other. Detective Okafor started with Amara. She'd been in custody for 12 hours. No sleep, no makeup. Her wedding night lingerie replaced with prison clothes. She looked nothing like the radiant bride from just days ago. "Mrs. Nwosu," Detective Okafor said, sliding a folder across the table. "We have video evidence of you attempting to inject air into your husband's foreline. That's attempted murder." Amara's lawyer, Mrs. Adeyemi, an expensive defense attorney in a sharp suit, leaned forward. "My client was clearly acting under duress from Mr. Chinitu Okafor. She's a victim of manipulation." "Really?" The detective played the audio recording from Obiora's phone. Amara's voice filled the room, clear and cold. "I've been playing perfect girlfriend for 3 years. It made me sick." Mrs. Adeyemi's confident expression faltered. "Sounds pretty calculating to me," Detective Okafor continued. "Not like someone being manipulated. He played more. He's such an idiot. He'll never see it coming. And more, 3 years of pretending to love you. Do you know how exhausting that was?" Amara put her head in her hands. "We also have," the detective continued, laying out photos, "the poisoned champagne glasses. Forensics confirmed military-grade poison. The empty vial with fingerprints. Hospital surveillance of you being cruel to your comatose husband. Video of you discussing how to let him die by refusing medical care. And of course, the grand finale, caught on camera trying to inject air into his fore." "It wasn't supposed to be like this," Amara whispered. "Don't say anything," her lawyer warned. But Amara was panicking. "It was Chinitu's idea. All of it. He approached me 2 years ago. He said we could get rich if I just married Obiora and—" "Amara, stop," Mrs. Adeyemi commanded. "And then killed him. But I didn't want to. Chinitu threatened me. He said if I didn't go through with it, he'd tell Obiora about our affair and ruin everything." "So you admit to the affair?" Detective Okafor asked. Yes. But the murder plot was Chinitu's plan." In the other interrogation room, Chinitu was telling a very different story. "Amara seduced me," he insisted to his lawyer and Detective Okafor's partner. "I was loyal to Obiora for 10 years. But she's manipulative. Beautiful. She told me she was in love with me, not him, that she made a mistake marrying Obiora. So you helped her murder him out of love?" Detective Okafor's partner asked dryly. It wasn't like that. She came to me 6 months ago with the poison already purchased. Said she had a plan. Just needed me to help execute it. I tried to talk her out of it. But she said if I didn't help, she'd tell Obiora I tried to seduce her. Frame me. Ruin my life. Interesting, the detective said, sliding a piece of paper across the table. Because these are dark web purchase records for military-grade poison. Bought 3 months ago. From an account traced to your IP address. Your computer. Your apartment. Chinita's face drained of color. You bought the poison, Mr. Okafor, not her. So either you lie about who planned this, or you're admitting you bought poison for someone else's murder plot. Either way, you're guilty. Chinitu's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. No comment, Chinitu finally said. Too late, the detective replied. You've already confessed to buying poison and helping plan a murder. That's conspiracy to commit murder. Attempted murder. You're both going away for a very long time. 3 weeks later, the trial began. Lagos High Court was a grand colonial building with high ceilings and wooden galleries. It was packed to capacity. Every seat filled. Media cameras lined the back wall. Reporters jostled for position. The wedding night murder plot had captivated Nigeria. A bride poisoning her groom. A best man betraying his friend. Love, money, betrayal, and attempted murder. It had everything. Amara was led in first, wearing a simple blue dress her lawyer had chosen. Make her look innocent, vulnerable. Her hair was pulled back in a modest bun. No jewelry. No makeup. She looked young. Scared. Chinitu came in separately, wearing a suit. His lawyer had advised the same approach. Look respectable, regretful, reformed. The judge, Justice Adewale, was a stern woman in her 60s with 3 decades on the bench. She'd seen everything. This case, however, was unusual even for her. The prosecutor, Mr. Olamirwaju, stood for his opening statement. He was known for his theatrical style and his 95% conviction rate. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he began. This case is about betrayal so calculated, so complete, that it defies understanding. The defendants before you, he gestured to Amara and Chinitu, planned for 2 years to murder Mr. Obiora Nwosu. Not in passion, not in rage. For money, 150 million Nigerian nairas, to be exact. He let that number hang in the air. Mr. Nwosu trusted these people, loved them. The defendant Amara Nwosu was his wife, who stood before God and 300 witnesses and vowed to love, honor, and cherish him. And mere hours later, she tried to poison him to death. Several jurors shook their heads. The defendant Chinitu Okafor was Mr. Nwosu's best friend, his best man, the person who toasted to their happiness, even while planning to help murder the groom. Mr. Olamirwaju laid out the timeline. How Chinitu and Amara had been lovers for 2 years before Amara even met Obiora. How they'd researched wealthy men to target. How Obiora was their third attempt. Target number 3, the prosecutor emphasized. They'd tried this scheme twice before with other men. Those attempts failed. But they believed Mr. Nwosu would be perfect. Successful, wealthy, and most importantly, trusting. The prosecution's case was methodical and devastating. First, they played the audio recording from Obiora's phone. The entire courtroom heard Amara and Chinitu's cold discussion of poisoning Obiora. Did you bring it? Poison. Tasteless. Works in 10 minutes. When he collapses, we'll stage it as a heart attack. And his new widow inherits everything. A woman in the jury wiped tears from her eyes. He's such an idiot. He actually believed I loved you. The courtroom was absolutely silent except for the recording. When it finished, you could have heard a pin drop. Next came forensic evidence. A toxicologist testified that the champagne contained a military-grade poison, extremely difficult to obtain, designed to mimic heart attack symptoms. If Mr. Nwosu had consumed the full dose, the expert said, he would have died within 15 minutes. Even the small amount he accidentally ingested nearly killed him. Another 10 minutes without medical intervention, and he would have been dead. The prosecutor showed photos of the poisoned champagne glass, the empty vial, the the chemical composition. Then came the hospital evidence. Video after video of Amara's visits to comatose Obiora. The jury watched her check to make sure no one was looking, then whisper cruel things. I hope you die. Just die already. They watched her pinch his arm hard. Saw her face. No grief, no love, just cold calculation. They heard her phone call with Chinidu. If he wakes up, I can refuse medical care. Let him die naturally. Several jurors looked disgusted. Finally, the prosecutor played the video of Amara's attempted murder. The hidden camera footage was crystal clear. Amara entering the room at 2 a.m., pulling out the syringe, approaching the 4-line. Do you know how easy this is? Just a little air. Your heart stops. The syringe touching the 4-port. Goodbye, Obiora. I'd say it was nice knowing you, but honestly, you bore me from day one. Then police bursting in. Amara's scream. Obiora sitting up, alive. When the video ended, the courtroom erupted in whispers. The judge had to call for order. Sister Blessing took the stand, impressive in her dignity and experience. I was a police officer for 20 years, she testified. I've worked homicide, narcotics. I've seen cruelty. But what I saw that night, she shook her head. That young man married someone who planned to murder him hours later, on what should have been the happiest night of his life. What made you suspicious? Mr. Olanrawaju asked. I was making my rounds as night manager. When I passed the presidential suite, I heard a woman's voice say, Finally, you're dead. That's not normal wedding night conversation. What did you do? I knocked, loudly, announced myself as hotel security, with a fake noise complaint. I wanted to see what was happening. And what did you find? A man on the floor, lips blue, barely breathing, poison, and a woman who wasn't trying to help him. She was annoyed that I'd interrupted. Objection! Amara's lawyer stood. Speculation about my client's state of mind. Sustained, the judge said. Stick to facts, witness. The fact is, Sister Blessing continued, I recognized poison symptoms immediately from my police training. I called paramedics. I collected evidence, the champagne glasses, the vial, and I saved that young man's life. On cross-examination, Amara's lawyer tried to shake her testimony. Isn't it true you took evidence without a warrant? I took evidence from a crime scene to preserve it. That's standard procedure. Isn't it true you suggested to Mr. Nwosu that he fake a coma to entrap my client? I suggested we catch her if she tried again, which she did, with a syringe full of air. The cross-examination went nowhere. Sister Blessing was unshakable. Then Obiora took the stand. He walked slowly to the witness box, still recovering from the poison's effects. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Mr. Olanrawaju started gently. Mr. Nwosu, can you tell us what happened on your wedding night? Obiora took a deep breath. Then he told the story. The closet, the innocent prank, the shock of seeing Chinidu, the kiss, the poison, the murder plan. I had to make an impossible choice, he said, his voice steady despite the emotion. If I stepped out of that closet and confronted them, I'd have no proof. They'd deny everything, claim I was paranoid, maybe even say I was imagining things. A good lawyer could destroy my credibility. So what did you do? I played along. I pretended to drink the poison. His voice broke slightly. I faked my death. Because I knew that was the only way to prove what they'd done, to make sure they could never hurt anyone else. That must have been terrifying. I've never been more scared in my life. I accidentally swallowed some of the poison. I almost died. But if I hadn't gathered that evidence, they'd be free right now, planning their next victim. Mr. Nwosu, what would you like to say to the jury? Obiora looked directly at the 12 men and women in the jury box. These 2 people planned my murder for months. They married me. They toasted to my happiness. They smiled at me, and they planned to kill me. If Sister Blessing hadn't been in that hallway at exactly the right moment, I'd be dead, and they'd be rich, and free, and looking for their next target. He looked at Amara and Chinidu. Neither would meet his eyes. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for justice. So they can never do this to anyone else. When he stepped down, several people in the gallery were crying openly. The defense tried, but there wasn't much they could do. Amara's lawyer argued coercion. My client was manipulated by Mr. Okafor. He's a predator who took advantage of. But the prosecution had the recordings. Amara's voice, cold and clear, planning murder. No coercion, just greed. Chinidu's lawyer argued diminished capacity. My client was not in his right mind. Jealousy and obsession clouded his judgment. But the prosecution had the evidence of planning, the poison purchase, the detailed execution, the backup plan. These weren't the actions of someone incapacitated. These were the actions of calculated murderers. Both defendants chose not to testify. Their lawyers advised them that anything they said would only make things worse. Closing arguments were brief. They planned it. The prosecutor said simply, they executed it. They were caught in the act. The evidence is overwhelming. The only verdict that serves justice is guilty on all counts. The defense tried to plant reasonable doubt, but there was no reasonable doubt. The evidence was too strong, the video too clear, the audio too damning. The jury deliberated for 2 hours and 43 minutes. When they returned, Obiora held his breath. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, how do you find the defendant Amara Nwosu? Guilty. Amara gasped, grabbed her lawyer's arm. On the charge of attempted murder, how do you find the defendant Amara Nwosu? Guilty. She began crying loud, desperate sobs. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, how do you find the defendant Chinidu Okafor? Guilty. Chinidu's had dropped to the table. On the charge of attempted murder, how do you find the defendant Chinidu Okafor? Guilty. The courtroom erupted. Media rushed out to report. Family members cried. Obiora sat perfectly still, feeling nothing, numb. Sentencing came 1 week later. Justice Adewale had reviewed all the evidence, all the testimony, all the arguments. Now she would pass judgment. Defendants, please rise. Amara and Chinidu stood, both shaking. In my 30 years on the bench, Justice Adewale began, I have encountered murder for passion, murder for revenge, murder in moments of rage or fear. But I have rarely encountered murder so cold, so calculated, so completely devoid of humanity. She looked directly at them. Mrs. Nwosu, you married this man, made sacred vows before God, with every intention of murdering him within hours. You looked him in the eye and planned his death. Even after your initial attempt failed, you tried again. You have shown no remorse, only regret that you were caught. Amara was crying silently. Mr. Okafor, you betrayed your best friend, the man who called you brother, who trusted you absolutely. You helped poison him. You celebrated his planned death. You are a betrayer of the worst kind. Justice Adewale picked up her sentencing document. This court sentences Amara Nwosu to 25 years imprisonment, with no possibility of parole for the first 20 years. Amara screamed, actually screamed. Guards had to restrain her. This court sentences Chinidu Okafor to 25 years imprisonment, with no possibility of parole for the first 20 years. Chinidu collapsed in his chair, sobbing. You will serve your sentences in separate maximum security facilities. You will have no contact with each other. You will have no contact with Mr. Obiora Nwosu unless he explicitly requests it. And you will spend the next 2 decades thinking about what you did. Justice Adewale's gavel came down. Court is adjourned. As they were dragged away, Amara screaming, Chinidu sobbing, Obiora sat quietly in the gallery. It was over. Finally over. Outside, Sister Blessing put a hand on his shoulder. Justice was served. I know, Obiora said. So why don't I feel better? Because justice doesn't heal trauma. It just stops the bleeding. Healing comes later, and it takes time. Guilty. On all counts. Both of them. Amara screamed. Chinidu collapsed. They blamed each other, but evidence was overwhelming. The jury heard the recordings, saw the videos. Sister Blessing testified. Obiora told his story. 25 years in prison each. No parole for 20 years. The judge said it was the most calculated cruelty she'd seen in 30 years. Justice served, but Obiora feels empty. Trauma doesn't disappear with a verdict. Can he ever heal? Smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion for next chapter, showing his recovery journey. Turn on notifications. 6 months after the trial, Obiora sat in Dr. Adeyemi's therapy office. His weekly appointment. The office was comfortable. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs, a box of tissues on the table. Obiora had used them more than once. Tell me about the nightmares, Dr. Adeyemi said gently. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes and infinite patience. They're getting worse, Obiora admitted. I wake up gasping. Sometimes I'm in the closet again, watching them kiss. Sometimes I'm drinking the poison. Sometimes I'm in a hospital and Amara's injecting air into my fore. But this time the police don't come. How often? 4, 5 times a week. That's actually an improvement. 2 months ago it was every night. Doesn't feel like improvement. Dr. Adeyemi made a note. Healing isn't linear. You experience extreme trauma, betrayal, near death, complete violation of trust. Your brain is processing that. The nightmares are part of the process. When will they stop? There's no timeline, but they will decrease, especially as you learn to trust again. I don't know if I can trust again, Obiora said quietly. I loved Amara completely, trusted Chinedu with my life, and they both tried to murder me. How do I ever trust anyone after that? By taking small steps, starting with people who've proven themselves trustworthy, like Sister Blessing. Obiora smiled slightly. She checks on me every week, calls every few days. She's been amazing. She saved your life. She's earned your trust. That's where you start. But what about romantic relationships? I can't imagine. You don't have to imagine anything right now. You're 6 months out from trauma. You're allowed to heal, to not be ready. Obiora looked out the window at Lagos traffic. Life continued. People fell in love, got married, trusted each other. He couldn't imagine being one of them again. I've isolated myself, he admitted. Stopped seeing friends. Stopped going anywhere. I just go to work, come home, and sit in my apartment replaying everything in my head. That's a trauma response. But it's not sustainable. Isolation feeds depression. You need community. Everyone knows what happened. The trial was all over the news. People stare at me, whisper, I'm the wedding night murder guy. You're also the survivor, the hero who caught 2 murderers. Have you considered that perspective? Obiora hadn't. I'm not a hero. I almost died because I was stupid enough to trust them. You're not stupid. You loved people who were very good at pretending. That's not a character flaw. Dr. Adeyemi leaned forward. Obiora, I want you to try something. Sister Blessing mentioned her church has a volunteer program, feeding the homeless, community service. I want you to go, once a week. Force yourself to be around people. I don't think I'm ready. You're not. But sometimes we do things before we're ready, because waiting means never doing them at all. 3 weeks later, Obiora found himself at Sister Blessing's church on a Saturday morning. The church was modest but warm, well-used, loved. People in the parking lot greeted each other with genuine affection. Sister Blessing met him at the door. You came. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. I sat in my car for 15 minutes. But you're here. That's what matters. Come on. We're setting up for the community lunch. The volunteer program served free meals to anyone who needed them. Homeless people, families struggling financially, elderly folks on fixed incomes. No questions asked, just food and kindness. Obiora's job was simple. Serve rice and stew. Smile. Say, you're welcome when people thanked him. He was terrified. What if someone recognized him? What if they asked about the trial? What if... Relax, Sister Blessing whispered. Just serve. Don't overthink it. The first person in line was an elderly woman, tiny and stooped. God bless you, young man, she said when Obiora served her. You're welcome, ma'am. The second was a young mother with 3 children. Thank you so much. We've been struggling this month. My pleasure. Person after person. Some said, thank you. Some didn't. None of them knew his story. None of them saw him as the wedding night murder guy. They just saw a volunteer serving food. And somehow, slowly, Obiora started to relax. After 2 hours, the rush ended. Volunteers ate the leftover food together, talking and laughing. A young woman approached Obiora. She wore a nurse's uniform and had a kind smile. You're new here, she said. First time. Is it that obvious? You look terrified. It's cute. Despite himself, Obiora laughed. That obvious, huh? I'm Ada Chukwu. I volunteer here twice a month. I'm a nurse at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Obiora's stomach dropped. That was a hospital where he'd been treated. Did she know? I'm Obiora. Nice to meet you, Obiora. Will you be back next week? Maybe. I don't know. Well, I hope you are. It's nice to see new faces. She walked away, leaving Obiora standing there. It had been months since he'd had a normal conversation with someone his age. Someone who wasn't his therapist or lawyer or sister blessing. It felt nice. Obiora returned the next week, and the week after, and the one after that. Each time, Ada was there. They'd talk briefly while serving. Small conversations. Nothing deep. Just, how was your week? Busy. Patients everywhere. How about you? Fine. Work. The usual. Easy. Uncomplicated. Normal. After 2 months, Ada asked, do you want to grab coffee after service next week? As friends. Obiora's first instinct was to say no, to run, to hide. But Dr. Adeyemi's voice in his head. Sometimes we do things before we're ready. Sure, he said. Coffee sounds nice. They went to a small cafe near the church, sat outside, talked for an hour. Ada was easy to talk to. She told funny stories about hospital life, asked about his work, investment banking, talked about Legos, family, random things. She didn't ask about his past, didn't push, just existed comfortably. After 3 coffee meetings, Ada said, I know who you are. Obiora's blood ran cold. What? The wedding night thing. I saw it on the news. The trial. Oh. He started to stand. I should... Wait. Ada touched his hand. I'm not telling you because I'm scared or because I think differently of you. I'm telling you because I figured you should know that I know. And it doesn't change anything. You're still just Obiora to me. The guy who serves rice and tells bad jokes. Obiora sat slowly. I don't tell bad jokes. You really do. Last week you made a pun about grain. A grain pun. It was terrible. Despite the anxiety twisting his stomach, Obiora smiled. Why are you telling me this now? Because we've been friends for 2 months. And friendship is built on honesty. So here's my honesty. I know what happened to you. I think it's horrific. I'm sorry you went through it. And I'm still here. Still your friend. That won't change. Obiora felt something crack open in his chest. Something that had been locked tight since the wedding night. Thank you, he whispered. You're welcome. Now finish your coffee. It's getting cold. Over the next 6 months, Obiora slowly rebuilt his life. He continued therapy. The nightmares decreased from 5 times a week to 3, then to once or twice. He continued volunteering, found that serving others helped him focus on something other than his own pain. And he continued his friendship with Ada. Just friendship. Nothing romantic. She never pushed. Just showed up week after week, steady and kind. One day, 8 months after they'd met, Obiora said, do you want to get dinner? Like actual dinner, not just coffee. Ada smiled. Is this a date? Maybe. I don't know. I'm terrified of dating, of trusting, of... Then let's call it dinner between friends. And if it feels like a date, that's okay too. And if it doesn't, that's also okay. They went to a modest restaurant. Nothing fancy. Just good food and conversation. And it felt nice, easy, safe. At the end of the night, Ada said, "Thank you for trusting me with this. I know it wasn't easy." "It isn't. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for you to reveal some hidden agenda." "No agenda, just me. What you see is what you get." Obiora wanted to believe her, desperately. 1 year after the trial, Obiora did something he'd been avoiding. He visited the prison, not to see Amara or Chinidu personally. He'd arranged for the prison chaplain to give a talk to inmates about choices, consequences, and redemption. The prison was exactly as depressing as he'd imagined. Gray, cold, hopeless. He stood before a room of 50 prisoners and told his story. "2 people I loved tried to murder me," he began. "My wife, my best friend, they planned it for years, nearly succeeded, and now they're here in this system for the next 25 years. The room was silent. "Some of you made terrible choices, hurt people, destroyed lives. You can't undo that. The damage is done. But what happens next? That's still up to you." He talked about healing, about how trauma doesn't excuse behavior, but can explain it, about how some people, like Amara and Chinidu, chose greed over humanity, but you can choose differently, starting right now. Redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about creating a different future. After the talk, several inmates thanked him, told him his story had impacted them. As he was leaving, a guard approached. Mrs. Amara Nwosu asked if she could speak with you. Obiora hesitated. Then, 5 minutes. Amara looked older. Prison had aged her a decade and 1 year. No makeup, gray roots showing. Thin, defeated. They sat across from each other in a visitation room, glass partition between them. "Thank you for coming," Amara said. Her voice was hoarse. "I didn't come for you. I came to speak to inmates." "I know, but I'm glad you're here. I needed to tell you something." "What?" "I've changed, really changed. I'm in therapy here, facing what I did, understanding why. I was hollow inside, thought money would fill it. It didn't. It just made me more hollow. You're telling me this because I want you to know I'm truly sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry I did it. You deserve better. You deserved real love, and I gave you betrayal." Obiora studied her. She seemed genuine, but he'd been fooled before. "I forgive you," he said finally. Amara's eyes widened. "What?" "I forgive you. Not for you. For me. I spent a year carrying anger like poison. It was killing me slowly. So I'm letting it go. You tried to poison my body. I won't let you poison my soul." Tears streamed down Amara's face. "Thank you. But I'll never forget, and you'll serve every day of your sentence. That's justice. I know. I deserve it. More than it, honestly." Obiora stood to leave. "Wait," Amara said. Are you happy? Did you find someone who loves you? Really loves you?" Obiora thought about Ada, about her patience, her kindness, the way she showed up week after week, asking for nothing. "I'm getting there," he said. "Good. You deserve that. You always did." He left without looking back. 2 years after the nightmare wedding, Obiora stood outside a restaurant in Victoria Island, checking his watch nervously. 7 p.m., right on time. He'd been standing there for 10 minutes, gathering courage. This was his first real date since everything. Since Amara. Since the poison. Since the trial. The door opened. Ada stepped out, smiling. "Are you planning to come inside, or just admire the exterior architecture?" I was gathering courage. For dinner? For this? For dating? For trusting someone enough to? He took a breath. "I'm terrified." Ada's expression softened. "I know, but courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing things despite fear. So come on, let's be terrified together." The dinner was nice. More than nice. Easy. Natural. They talked about everything and nothing. Ada told hospital stories. Obiora talked about work. They laughed. The conversation flowed. No awkwardness. No pressure. Just comfort. Can I ask you something? Ada said over dessert. Sure. Why now? We've been friends for over a year. What changed? Obiora set down his fork. I realized something. Amara tried to kill me, and I almost let her succeed, not by drinking the poison, but by letting fear kill who I am. I was so afraid of being hurt again that I stopped living. And that's just another kind of death. Ada reached across the table, took his hand. I'm glad you're choosing to live. Me too. But Ada, you need to understand, I'm not healed. I have nightmares, trust issues, anxiety, therapy every week, and probably for years to come. I'm damaged. Everyone's damaged in different ways. I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for honest. I can do honest. Then that's all I need. They took it slow, incredibly slow. 3 months before their first kiss. 6 months before Obiora said, I love you, and meant it, truly meant it, in a way that was entirely different from what he'd felt with Amara. 1 year before they talked seriously about marriage. I want to marry you, Obiora said one evening on his apartment balcony. But I'm terrified. Last time I got married. Last time you married someone who planned to murder you. I'm not planning to murder you. How do I know that? Ada didn't get offended. She understood. You don't. Not with absolute certainty. But Obiora, you can't let fear control every decision. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. What if I fall? Then I'll be there to catch you. And if somehow I can't, you'll land and get back up, because that's what you do. You survive. You heal. You keep going. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's terrifying, but it's also worth it. 3 years after the nightmare wedding, Obiora proposed to Ada, not at a fancy hotel, not in front of hundreds of people, in the church garden where they'd met after Sunday service. Just the two of them. Simple, honest, real. Ada Chukwu, he said, getting down on one knee. You've been patient with my damage, kind through my healing, steady when I was broken. You showed me that love can be safe, real, true. Will you marry me? Yes, Ada said without hesitation. Absolutely yes. The wedding was different from Obiora's first in every way. Small, only 30 people, close family, trusted friends. Sister Blessing officiated. No best man. Obiora had learned that lesson. No elaborate reception. No champagne toasts. No room for deception or betrayal. Just simple vows. Honest promises. I promise to be completely honest with you, Obiora said. Always. Even when truth is hard. Even when I'm scared. I promise to be patient with you, Ada said. Through nightmares and fears and hard days. I'm not going anywhere. They kissed. Sister Blessing pronounced them married. The small gathering applauded. It was perfect. Real. Safe. Obiora cried. Not from fear or trauma, but from joy. Real joy. 1 year into their marriage, Ada got pregnant. Obiora was terrified. What if I can't trust my own child? What if my trauma affects how I parent? Then we'll work through it. Together. In therapy. With help. But Obiora, you're going to be an amazing father. When their daughter was born, a beautiful baby with Ada's eyes and Obiora's smile, Obiora held her and sobbed. All the trauma, all the pain, all the fear, it led to this moment, to this tiny, perfect person. We're naming her Blessing, he told Ada, after Sister Blessing, the woman who saved my life. 5 years after the trial, Obiora stood outside Lagos maximum security prison again, not to visit Amara or Chinedu as inmates, to deliver a keynote speech at a restorative justice conference being held at the facility. 5 years ago, he told the assembled crowd of prisoners, guards, counselors, and advocates, 2 people I loved tried to murder me. My wife, my best friend. It destroyed me, not just physically, though I still have organ damage from the poison, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The room was silent. I spent 2 years in intensive therapy, learning to trust, learning to love, learning to be human again. And I'm still learning. I still have nightmares. I still have moments where I wonder if everyone around me is secretly plotting something. He paused. But I also learned something important. The people who hurt you don't get to define you. Yes, I was betrayed. Yes, I almost died. But I survived. I healed. I found real love, not the fake, calculated kind, but genuine, safe, honest love. I have a wife who actually loves me, a daughter, a life worth living. He looked around the room at the prisoners in their uniforms. Some of you made terrible choices, hurt people, destroyed lives. You can't undo that. The past is fixed, but the future, that's still unwritten. You can choose, from this moment forward, to be different, to be better. Redemption is possible, but only if you're willing to face what you did, truly face it, and change. After the speech, several inmates approached him, thanked him, told him his story had touched them. As he was leaving, a guard said, "Mrs. Amara Nwosu watched your speech from the back. She wanted to see you after, but I told her you'd have to approve it." Obiora hesitated. Then, yes, 10 minutes. Amara looked even more different now. 5 years in prison. Gray streaks in her hair. Deep lines on her face. She looked 50, not 34. They sat across from each other in a private visitation room. "Your speech was beautiful," Amara said quietly. "You have a daughter?" "Yes. Blessing. She's 1 year old." "That's wonderful. You deserve happiness. You always did. Why did you want to see me?" Amara took a shaky breath. "To tell you that I heard what you said. About redemption. About choosing to be different. I've been trying to do that. 5 years of therapy here. Facing what I did. Who I was. The choices I made. And I was evil. Am evil. Or was. I don't know anymore. I married you to murder you. I looked at you on our wedding day and thought, soon you'll be dead. What kind of person does that? A person who valued money over humanity. Yes, exactly that. I was hollow inside. Thought wealth would fill the emptiness. Instead, it made me a monster. Obiora studied her. She seemed genuinely changed, but he'd been fooled before. "I came to tell you something," Obiora said. "I forgave you a year ago. I meant it then. I mean it now. Not because you deserve forgiveness. You don't. But because I deserve peace. And holding on to anger was poisoning me." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know. That's what makes it forgiveness instead of fairness. Are you happy? Is your life good?" "Yes. Finally. My wife Ada is kind and genuine. My daughter is perfect. My life is healing. It took 5 years, but I'm finally living instead of just surviving. I'm glad," Amara whispered. "I'm so glad you didn't let what I did destroy you. I almost did, but I had help. Sister Blessing. Therapy. Ada. Community. They helped me heal. I hope I can heal too. I have 20 more years here to try. You can, if you mean it, if you're willing to do the work." "I am. I really am." Obiora stood to leave. "Then I hope you succeed. Goodbye, Amara. Goodbye, Obiora. Thank you for everything." That evening, Obiora returned home to his modest house in Lekki. Inside, Ada was making dinner. Baby Blessing was in her high chair, giggling at everything. Sister Blessing was visiting. She came every Sunday for dinner now. She'd become like family. "How was the prison?" Ada asked, kissing him. "Surprisingly healing. I think I finally have closure." "Good. Now come eat. Your daughter has been asking for you all day." Obiora picked up Blessing. She grabbed his nose and laughed. That perfect baby laugh that made everything worthwhile. They sat around the table. Obiora, Ada, Baby Blessing, and Sister Blessing. A family. Not the family Obiora had imagined on his first wedding day, but a real one, built on truth, not lies. Love, not betrayal. "Thank you," Obiora said suddenly. "For what?" Ada asked. "For everything. For being patient. For being real. For choosing me despite all my damage." "You're not damaged," Ada said gently. "You're healed. Scarred, yes, but healed." Sister Blessing raised her glass of juice. To healing, to family, to love that's real and true. They all toasted. Even baby Blessing with her sippy cup. Outside, Legos hummed with life. Somewhere in 2 different prisons, Amara and Chinidu served their sentences, thinking about the lives they destroyed, including their own. But in this house, in this moment, there was only peace. Obiora had survived the nightmare. More than survived, he'd healed. He'd found real love. He'd built a real life. From a closet on his wedding night to a courtroom to a prison visit to finally, a home filled with genuine love. The journey had been brutal. The scars were real. The nightmares still came occasionally. But so did the joy, the laughter, the love. And in the end, that's what mattered. Real love, patient, honest, safe, true, had won, because it always does. The end. From poison to peace. From betrayal to true love. From near death to fatherhood. Obiora took 2 years to heal. He met Ada at church, and they took it slow. 3 years of dating before marriage. They had baby Blessing named after the woman who saved him. He went back to prison to speak about redemption. Amara has changed after 5 years. Genuine remorse. She has 20 more years to think about what she did. Chinidu too. But Obiora healed. He has real love now. A real family. The lesson is powerful. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Gather evidence. But don't let betrayal destroy you. Healing is possible. Real love exists. If this story taught you about survival, healing, and true love, smash that like button. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion. Share with someone who needs hope. Comment your biggest takeaway. Remember, not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. Trust wisely, love carefully, and always listen to your instincts. Thank you for watching African Tales by Zion. Until next time, stay safe, love real, and never ignore red flags. God bless.